Yes. Doximity in the house. All right.
I appreciate that.
The carnivore diet.
Because of what we eat.
Honestly, you've really touched my heart.
We want to have some degree of what is called top-down control. And what that means is you want to make sure you're able to reflect on your choices and not just act out of impulse. It tends to be the impulsive choices that get us into trouble. It's when somebody says something unkind and you yell back at them. In order to make more reflective decisions, more thought out decisions, we have to have the prefrontal cortex online.
I appreciate that it's not a syndrome, yet it is helpful for us to like categorize our dysfunction. I don't know another way to say it, which is why I loved in the book when it said, disconnection syndrome. It was like, yes, it allowed me to categorize some of the things I had been feeling. So help us understand what falls into that category.
In the book, we talk about this idea of disconnection syndrome, and we go through and define these 8 characteristics, these central characteristics of this condition. So we talk about impulsivity, instant gratification, chronic inflammation, chronic stress, loneliness, mindless activity, and narcissism and poor relationships. And we really feel like these are the kind of best manifestations of how our thought patterns are distorted by this disconnection syndrome. So if you were to go through the day and look at the things that you were doing as far as how you were acting, how you were thinking, these are the ones where we really think that is evidence of this disconnection syndrome. And that's kind of the outward manifestation of it, right? You can say, here's what I was thinking, here's what I was doing. But what's so interesting about this research behind the concept of disconnection syndrome is that it is really grounded in what is happening within our brains and how there is this disconnect, physical disconnection as far as the way the neurons are firing and not talking to each other between these 2 regions of the brain. One brain being the more highly evolved, we think of region called the prefrontal cortex, which helps us to make reflective decisions, helps us to engage in empathy, helps us to, think beyond the present moment. And then the other part of the brain, which is the limbic system, the reward system, that seems to be more fixated on the impulsive type thinking. And we really feel like so much of what's going wrong can be seen as an imbalance between these 2 parts of the brain. What's super cool about this, though, is that there are things that we can do to physically change the wiring of our brain to rebalance that. So we're not always in this tug of war. Instead, we're kind of above that, looking down and able to make those changes.